series, a conversation around counterfeits and substandard products. Last week, we launched with my guest here, Fred Muwema, and we were talking about counterfeits, just a general overview of what that is and how you can be vigilant about having counterfeits or substandard products in your homes, in your offices, and in your workplaces. So we introduced to you an acronym called DANKANI. This was one of the highlights from our conversation last week. DANKANI is an acronym that personifies counterfeits. It's what drives counterfeits, and it's what causes them to thrive in our economy and in our market. Back with me today is Fred Muwema with the Anti-Counterfeit Network Africa, and he's going to be throwing more light on this subject, a little more targeted today as we are speaking about water. Yeah, water is life, like we know, and we want to delve a bit more into what counterfeits look like in the area of water. Fred, how are you?
Very good. You just said water is life,
water
is also death these days.
Imagine that.
Not just for the revelers who go on the boats, and sometimes it doesn't balance, but water, contaminated water, causes a lot of death. So here on this conversation of League of the Genuine, we would like to keep water to be life,
yes,
by consuming genuine water.
Genuine water. Yes. Why don't we start by talking about some of these drivers in relation to water? So last week we handled a few, but today I want to ask you about, so normalcy is an N in the acronym. It's described as a driver of counterfeits. How and why? Talk to us about normalcy.
What do we mean by normalcy? There is a tendency for all of us, for society, to accept certain things to be normal. When I was growing up, it was normal to even drink water from the tap. And eventually, with a little urbanization, water used to be packed in some sachets or plastic. So that was the trend. And now, for you to show that you have arrived or you're there, you take water in a bottle.
In a bottle.
Okay? So that normalcy is what the counterfeiter exploits. Knowing that we now like bottled water, it's trendy to take bottled water, they go and counterfeit it. We have more than 70 water bottling companies in Uganda at the moment. But I can tell you that a lot of that water is not the genuine product that the brand owner intends to put on the market for you and me to consume. A lot of this water gets faked.
Yeah.
And so as a result, you have contamination bottled up and put in a place which harms you. So normalcy, that things are normal, this is how we do it, and it's a human instinct. Human beings, we do crowding or herding. We like to follow, this is how they do it, or this is how so-and-so did it. So we all get there. So I think we need to stop a little bit and ask ourselves, yes, this is how it's done, but can we have a second look? And these conversations are helping us to interrogate our normalcy, because we know that what is normal is actually what is driving counterfeits
a lot. It's not an easy thing to confront what is normal.
It is not an easy thing to change from what you think is normal. It's a human weakness that we don't like to change. We like to stay the way we know things or the way we do things.
One of the C's in the acronym DANKANI stands for convenience. And while you were talking about normalcy, I was thinking about how convenient it is for me to get a bottle of water. Talk to us about how that contributes to counterfeit.
Well, convenience, again, related to normalcy. Convenience speaks to that drug shop, for example, where you usually go and get your drugs. It's convenient, it's near home, or it's on the road to your home. So it's convenient. You go there. The big health center or the big hospital is far away. The big supermarket is far away. There's a small retail shop. So you go there and get either your drug or your water. So convenience, again, because human beings don't like to be inconvenienced. We all like soft things. You don't want the hassle. Now, that's where we are caught again. The counterfeiters know that we're looking for convenience, so they'll place this counterfeit product at that place or spot of convenience and catch us more often than not.
Yeah. The other C is concealed danger. What does that mean, and how does it contribute to the counterfeit culture?
Concealed danger, as it speaks for itself, is inability for us to tell that what is otherwise a good product, well branded, has danger in it. There is no product that ever runs an ad to say, here I am a counterfeit product, or I'm a fake product, find me at this store, or I'm doing a promotion. There are no promotions for counterfeit products. The only promotions we have are promotions for genuine products. And the genuine products will come out and say, if you use this product, you'll have an experience, you'll enjoy, it will give you energy, it has vitamins. But with counterfeits, because they are a duplication of the genuine product, the dangers, if it is water, if it has microorganisms in it, if it has chemical affluence or other contamination, it wouldn't say.
No.
If anything, it would be deceptive. It would say that I am all right to be used, so there is no danger. So I think that is the biggest challenge that we have, that is very difficult to convince yourself or anybody else that what we are dealing with is dangerous, because the danger is not on the surface.
No.
Until you actually consume it or use it and it burns your skin, do you get to know. But what we are doing in this conversation is to tell you in advance that the telltale signs of a dangerous or harmful or counterfeit product can actually be known in advance before you go to the market to buy.
Got you. Because I mean, water is supposed to be clear. So if I see a bottle of water that is clear, it seems safe.
Yes.
But what you're saying is it may not be safe.
It may not be safe.
All right. There you have it. We looked at normalcy today, convenience, concealed danger. The acronym is DANCANI. D stands for differentiation, A stands for affordability, N stands for normalcy, convenience, concealed danger, and effective cooperation and aspiration. If you missed what the other letters stand for, please go back to our previous video. Fred does explain a bit more about those. But back to the discussion of water. What I hear you saying is that water can actually be counterfeited.
Very much so. Okay. Because water is a public good. Okay. As compared to maybe the only rival to water is food, but I think water is part of food because we ingest it, we take it in, and it helps us to live. So, because water is a product of mass, or a good of mass consumption, it is also very prone to counterfeiting, and there are many ways it can be counterfeited. You might be asking, how can you talk of counterfeiting in water? I did explain last week that the counterfeit is a product which is not genuine. A product that is not genuine in terms of its contents, its user effects, even its look or its branding. So in case of water, since many people on this platform have used or have seen bottled water, a lot of bottled water gets counterfeited. So it's easy there to say it's counterfeited because somebody has emptied the bottle with genuine water and then gone to the tap or the backyard at his home and filled in and sealed again. That's easy contamination to understand. But there is other forms of counterfeiting of water that are more concealed, that we may not see. For example, water gets contaminated or counterfeited at source. Where is the water being obtained? If it is a national water service, which river, or which stream, or which lake is being used to obtain the water source? If that lake or river has got a lot of industrial waste going into that area. And by the way, when I talk of industrial waste, it's not just imagine that I'm talking about big factories and so on. We have a lot of industrial waste also from places like saloons. The ladies, every time you go to wash your hair in the salon, do you know what you're washing out? And do you know where that water goes? That water most likely ends up in the water sources where the water that we drink at home, we used to bathe, is then pumped. And so many times we are showering chemicals, not only from the industries, but from ladies' hair or what you call it, the oils that are used. For example, washing base. Washing base use 99% water. So has anybody ever asked where does all the dirt and the greases and when that gun is hitting your engine and all those oils and greases fall on the ground, where do they end up? They end up in a source. And we are saying that if the source has issues, science has provided treatment, the treatment of the water. But again, there you have a problem. If the treatment of the water is going to use chemicals, if the chemicals, they themselves are either expired, the chlorine, if they have maybe the quality is poor, and you know even too much chlorine. If I give you pure chlorine now to drink, you will not be able to speak another minute. A minute will kill you instantly. So you have issues there. There's contamination caused by the treatment materials for the water. And then you also have contamination during the carriage or transportation of water from the treatment plant where they pump. The water doesn't come straight to the house. No, the pressure will be too much. The water will go to some central reservoir from where they now give each one of us water in our individual places. How are those reservoirs? When was the last time you heard that we have new reservoirs built? What's the maintenance of those reservoirs? How are they cleaned? Most likely you'll find these are things 50, 40 years old. And then the water has got to, through the distribution channel, now come to your house. Because it does not come like a WhatsApp message, you know. The water has to come physically. I think this is the only area that things are still analog, you know. The water has to physically move. You don't send it like a message.
So it's moving through pipes.
Now it moves through pipes. And with these roadworks in Uganda, and I'm sure in many parts of Africa,
the quality of the water is being compromised.
the national water puts the pipes. Tomorrow, KCC comes and breaks across. The other day, some electricity guys also laid their pumps. Before you know it, 5G is also drilling. So we are at the mercy of so many factors when we're talking about contamination of the water we use. And then at your home, a lot of contamination there as well, because again, the water does not come direct to you. You also store it somewhere first. Okay, so what tank are you using to store the water? How many people do you know who wash their tanks? You have a friend or two?
No.
I can tell you that most people in this part of the world do not wash their tanks. And many tanks that store the water that you drink, if you checked, very many of them don't have covers.
Yes,
you go home and check. The tanks are open. So these black and white, these reverend bats, what are they called? They are up there drinking the water with you and all this. So contamination. If the water had been clean, if you survived from the source to the reservoir to the pipes, if they were not broken, to your house, now contamination starts there, just right from the tank. So because you will have microorganisms growing in there, and you know what happens is that the water, most of the plumbing in this part of the world. I have seen the point of leaving the tank is at the bottom. The plumbing is not, the pipe that takes water to your house is not at the top of the tank. It's at the bottom. Those who know science will tell you that if you have impurities or foreign substance in anything, it tends to go down. So we are getting the dirtiest part of the water. That's what comes into the house. And when it comes into the house, what do? We immediately apply
on our faces.
Yeah, we put on our face. How many people put a filter before they put water on their face?
There's no time for that.
And then of course we drink it.
Yes.
And a lot of this water, even if you boil it, because it has heavy metals and some organisms will die, but the metals do not.
What I hear you saying is everybody sort of has a part to play. The water management at home, water management in our businesses. You talked about salons, industries, and all of that. When we come back, I want us to talk a bit about the regulators, the stakeholders, the players in this sector that are responsible for ensuring that, partly responsible for ensuring that we have clean and safe water. We'll be right back. Go grab yourself a cup of coffee and tell a friend to catch our live session on the day of the January. We'll be right back. Back to the League of the Genuine conversation. We are talking water today and how we contribute to contaminating the water that we drink, that we use in our homes for cooking, and what you can do to ensure that the water supply chain is kept safe and clean. There is a belief, Fred, that when you boil water in your homes for drinking, bathing, that you kill the germs, water is safe, drink it. But I know for a fact that there's that weird layer sometimes that appears in your pan of water when you're boiling it. What's that about?
Well, like I said, the contaminants for water are not only microorganisms, in others, not only living things, bacteria or germs, but you also have a lot of industrial effluents, the chemicals, and so on. So we need to have a 360-degree look at the subject to ensure that the water is free from contamination of whatever nature. Not very easy to achieve in Africa. We still have challenges with access to safe water for the majority of our people. In Uganda, I can tell you that do not have access to safe drinking water. We have almost half of our population not having access to proper toilets. And you know that fecal matter is one of the major causes of contamination. A lot of this happens within the homesteads. But also the other thing you need to look out for, water, because water is life. It is life for human beings. Water is life for plants. Water is life for animals. So water also affects the plant health and animal health. So if you are a person, and as human beings, we consume those two. We consume plants for food. We consume animal for food. So plant health is affected by contaminated water. If you plant the food in using a water base that is contaminated, that food absorbs whatever metal things it gets from the ground, and it's part of the food that is actually put on your plate. For example, a lot of the yams, I don't know if you eat yams.
I do.
Now, a lot of the yams around here are grown in wetlands or swampy areas around Nakji Channel and so on. So these places are strewn with a lot of heavy metals. Iron, lead is there. So they plant the yams there, they grow very fast, they're looking elegant, and you take it home and cook. But you're basically eating iron and lead and and stuff. So plant health is affected by contamination in water. Animal health. Well,
Yeah.
If the animal drinks contaminated water and it has metals, you could deal with the microorganisms because you could treat it and it heals. But there is no treatment for toxicity of lead.
Yeah.
It's not there. So even the meat of either the chicken or the cow or whatever that you eat, if the water base or the water consumed was contaminated, you end up eating meat that is also contaminated because of the contamination in water. So you can see that contamination in water should not only be looked at in terms of the water we drink, but it's also affecting the food we eat. And that's why we think that everybody should be paying attention to this, because more than 80% of the diseases that we suffer from, we all check into hospitals because we are sick, bacteria infections,
the infections we can't explain.
Yes, and this is because of contaminated water, food, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Let's talk about the commercialized water, which is what, a lot of the people that are watching us maybe are more familiar with. Where does it start to go wrong with bottled water? Talk to us about water treatments, the processing, the packaging. Are we safe in that regard?
Mineral water, they call it mineral water. It's purified water to a very good level, but of course it has some preservatives as well, not harmful really. But I'll just speak about one aspect in the production of mineral water, where sometimes there's abuse that leads to an end product which is not as safe as it should be. In the production of mineral water, the water basically goes through a filter, okay, or several filters, and it's those filters that clean out all the unwanted substances and so on. Now, some unscrupulous producers of water will use a filter for a period longer than the permitted period that the filter should work. For example, one filter can be used to produce maybe 10,000 liters, but you find some factory will produce water with the same filter for 20,000 liters. So you have a product at the end of the channel, which now is not actually purified water because there was a problem with the filter. How often do we have inspections of the water bottling plants to see whether the filters are okay? We need the regulator to tell us. But these are some of the issues that we have. But generally, mineral water should be recommended, should be safer, because for it, unlike boiling water, it also has got the mechanism of taking out some of these metals and chemicals that can make the water unhealthy to consume.
Is there anything in the packaging that could possibly affect the quality of water at the end of the day?
The packaging is an external thing. So, for example, this water belongs to, this is a nameless water bottle. But this is not how a product goes into the market. We all would like to consume a product that is identifiable with a certain brand, because then our endearment to that brand is based on their values, and so branding of bottled water is extremely important. Please don't go and buy water like
unbranded.
This unbranded, because then you will not be able to accuse anybody,
hold anyone accountable.
You can't hold anyone. If you came to me as a lawyer and said, I took this water, can you sue these guys? I'll just ask you, which guy is this? Because there's no branding. But right now, with water, because water is one of the products that have been earmarked for the digital tax stamp, it's very, very important that if you're buying water, there must be a stamp on the top here. Okay, you must make sure that the bottle you're holding has got a batch number. It will also show the date of production, It will also show an expiry date. Water expires, Rachel. I think the shelf life for water is a couple of months, probably 6 months or less. So water also expires when it's bottled. So I think a lot of emphasis has got to be put on the manufacturers of the water to ensure that they are able to a clearly identifiable product with a distinguishing mark. And then also the consumers should be able to pick out those distinguishing features, the taste, and be able to give feedback to the manufacturer in case there is an issue. Otherwise, what looks like a simple, innocent affair of taking a drink of water can keep you a few days in the hospital. And if you're unlucky, you could
lose your life. Fred, we can't talk about counterfeits without talking about the law. And since we're focusing on water today, and you're a lawyer by profession, what does the law say about water?
Well, the law recognizes that water is a universal human right. You know, like the right to breathe air. That's why you see, even if somebody went to the prison, they have a right to take in air. So it's the same thing with water. Under international law and our local law, the responsibility for protection and regulating the use of water is vested in the government of each respective country. And it's usually under a water policy. Like in Uganda, we have the Water Act, which was passed into law in 1997. Don't ask me if before the Water Act of 1997 we had no water or we had no regulation of water. Of course it was there, but this means that it was now codified or put in writing in a more specific way. So whereas the law places a lot of responsibility on the governments, on the national water bodies to ensure the provision of water for public use, a lot of responsibility rests with us in the handling and use of this water. Because the governments, the water regulatory bodies do not stay with us in our houses to ensure that domestic waste does not, for example, affect our water sources. The government or the regulatory bodies do not do the plumbing in our houses. A lot of us live, or many people live in houses where there will know there's a broken pipe. You'll see in some places they just tie up with some polythene. Now, really, you're tying a polythene bag, the pipe got broken, and you just tie a polythene because the pipe is expensive, or you are trying to save money, but because of the contamination coming through that broken pipe, your bill at the clinic or because the children fall sick all the time, they get diarrhea or cholera out of it. You yourself, you might get typhoid because of the contamination. It's a big problem. Landlords, for example, who have rentable houses, please don't just be on the lookout for tenants paying rent for you. When was the last time you changed the pipe work? Or it may not be the last time you changed, you're building a new house. What's the quality of the pipes that you are using to give water to your tenants? A lot of the pipes have very poor quality. A lot of the pipes have heavy metals, they themselves. They're not durable. So you have contamination everywhere, which is actually causing a problem. And we think when we have this kind of discussion, you will get to appreciate that the issue of the water cannot be left to the government. The issue of the water is your issue that you must deal with
Yeah.
And if you do not deal with it, then you have to suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
So I think that there is no option. There is no option. Either way, we must. We are responsible for achieving the goal of access to safe water. Is our responsibility.
Yeah.
As much as it is for the government.
For the government. And I like that you say that, because I want to pick your brain on what the job of the regulators is. Because in our first episode, you said, everybody is playing a role in, bring this conversation about counterfeits to the fore. So you've told us about our individual role. We need to be vigilant. We need to be a bit more careful. What is the role of the regulators? So I'm talking UNBS, National Water, and all these people who are mandated to ensure that we have clean and safe water.
Okay, first of all, from the top, of course, there's what we call the Sustainable Development Goal, which is like, if you like, a human charter where all nations came together and said we need to have access to safe water by every human being. That is Sustainable Development Goal number 6. That goal is handed down to the respective governments to ensure that it's achieved. And the respective governments put water agencies or bodies. Here we have the Ministry of Water, and then below it we have the National Water and a lot of directorates under the ministry in charge of ensuring that we have a good water policy and programs too. Now, a lot of work is done, for example, by the National Water to increase access of water. So when we attended the Water Congress this year, I think in February, where all, if you like, the national waters of the African countries came at this arena, the MD of National Water said that they had increased the outreach and access to water by, I think, 54% or something. And they were planning very impressive performance by the National Water of Uganda. And for us who are there participating in this Congress, what was on our mind was, is it access to more safe water or access to more contaminated water? That's the question that was raised. Our concerns, of course, being in the supply chain, like I explained. How is the storage, how is the transportation, and how is the use of this water at home? And I need to say here that I think for sub-Saharan Africa, I don't know, but it might be best that we go for storage facilities that are compatible with our weather. First and foremost, plastic. Plastic as a storage material. I've had those who know better saying plastic is not very conducive, but we shall get experts to speak further on that.
Yeah.
But black water tanks, black water tanks in a tropical climate, averaging 25-30 degrees. I don't know of anybody who keeps a water tank in their bedroom where it's cooler or inside the house.
Yeah.
We all put them
Outside.
out
The
there
sun.
and in the scorching sun. And so what happens is that you're having a lot of activity in your water tank. There are a lot of parasites or bacteria which will develop naturally, biologically. You have contamination naturally occurring because of the kind of storage facility you are using. So I think we need to interrogate and examine every aspect of the water supply chain, the pipes, the storage. But I think as urbanization, people are saying, like in Kampala, Kampala is expanding now. It's going to reach Mukono. It will be like those big cities, 30 kilometers wide and so on. But with that urbanization is also an increased distribution channel for water, which unfortunately may not be distributing safe water for us. And So as a result, we are contributing to our own huge public health bill because of the way we store, transport, and use our water. So I think that in terms of government policy and so on, this is an area where I think governments need to come in and decree and declare what is it stainless steel tank or plastic tank that is good for water storage. We need this to come out clearly.
Yeah.
And also we need to examine to what extent a lot of the visits to our doctor are caused by many waterborne diseases.
Yeah.
Like you need to know that many small kids die from diarrhea-related diseases that dehydrate them much more than measles or malaria.
Yeah.
It's a big issue. So water contamination, counterfeiting in water is causing water to be a death agent to many small kids and even adults.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think it deserves the attention of everyone, because I have not come across a human being who doesn't use water.
No, water is life, like we
Yes.
said in the beginning. One of the mandates of this show is calling individuals, stakeholders to action. When we address a subject like water and, water contamination and water pollution, and what, those who have decided to commercialize it are doing, what would you say is the call to action for us, for all those categories of people, in terms of ensuring that our water is kept safe, our water is clean, and that it remains, like you said, life?
Okay, first of all, we would like to industrialize. There's a call to development is synonymous with more industry, and we are industrial. But industrialization also comes with its issues. They appeal to the manufacturers, the corporate citizens of this country, of Africa. We need more responsibility in the industrial waste disposal, because we know that some manufacturers are not heeding or complying with the international standards on waste disposal of industrial effluents, and we think this is causing a lot of concern and a lot of issues. I can tell you, all the industries you see emit their waste, not in some sock pit. Even if they did to the sock pit, they would reach the water table
Eventually,
still and contaminate. But most of it is released into the lake. So I wish they could come here and show us steps being taken to ensure that whatever is released maybe is given the sufficient treatment. But as a result, even the food, for you who are fans of fish, I know some people will say that, I like my fish fresh from the lake. But if the lake or the part of the lake where you are getting your fish is a dumping ground as well for an industry near you, you're in trouble. And the fish, you don't follow it to see how its traffic is. It moves from one point to another. So I think the call to action is at a personal level first. Can we have this sense of awareness and consciousness that contamination of water happens around us? It just doesn't happen only in the industries or even around us, within the home.
Yep.
Actually, the home contamination probably accounts for 30 or 40% of contamination that we have. And for the regulators, really, because you can't leave it with
just the individuals.
The national water bodies, please, especially the carriage and storage of the water, can we have an organized or coordinated way of doing the infrastructure repairs? Please, if you are going to lay a pipe today, but you have in advance knowledge that the city council will be doing the same road next week, please don't lay the pipe today only for the city council to break the same pipe when they are fixing. Can we have in interagency coordination. In Dankani, there is one of the things called inefficient cooperation. That's the I in Dankani. The various stakeholders don't work in concert.
You're not talking to
Okay,
each other.
so you have the water guy digging up today, putting a pipe. The next day, right across, the electricity guy will lay a cable. The other day, the 5G will also. So total lack of coordination, which we feel with more coordination, there are many things which are avoidable. We can have less and less water contamination. We can be able to achieve safe access to water, to the small children, to everybody, if we are more responsible. So this program, we feel, will achieve its mandate if even 1%, 10% of us, including all those in positions of responsibility and consumers, can pay attention, and together we are able to push those concerned, whether you're head of a home, whether you're a wife at home, whether you're a manager of a workplace, can we have more responsible handling and use of water in all aspects?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fred. I'm always learning so much on this program, and I hope that you are too. Today, our focus was water, the clean and safety use of water. And I hope that this has been insightful for you as it has been for me. Remember, we are here every Friday, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We're talking counterfeits, we're talking substandard products, we're talking fake goods, all of this stuff that affects you as an individual, but also affects our economy, it affects our environment. If you have a question, a comment, you're wondering about something regarding counterfeits, please do leave a comment or send us a message, and we'll be happy to answer any question that you have. Until next Friday, I am Rachel, and my guest today has been Fred Muwema. Thank you for joining us.